Right, so let me show you how the fitness feature works on Strava Premium. They've got a very cool app that you can use on either the app itself or on the web version that is pretty useful for tracking long-term fitness. So when you open up the app, you will see in the bottom right corner is your profile. And if you select your profile at the bottom right corner, you will have various widgets that you can select. The first one that I just want to have a quick word about is the relative effort. This has to do with your short-term fitness and effort that you put in on a short-term basis. Now, this information is actually being used by your monthly fitness, but they work in different ways. The way I like to think of it is that the relative effort works for short-term analytics, whereas your monthly fitness is more for long-term analytics. So if you open this up, it'll default to a 1-month view where you can see what your value is for your fitness value. Now, this is not a universal value. So a 22 for me does not mean the same as a 22 for somebody else. That is because Strava uses your own exertion to calculate what your fitness is. So the way this really works is to track your fitness over a period of time. And the longer the period of time, the better that will be. So it defaults to 1 month, which is not that helpful in information. Here you can see I've got 0% change. So yeah, it's more or less right. I'm about as fit as I was a month ago. I didn't do much exercise. I really flatlined. But if you look at the last 6 months, you'll see I'm peaked. That's what this black dot here would be. That's for one of your races that you've done, that it just highlights it there. But then I was a 46 there. I was definitely way fitter than I am now. And we headed into the winter months, and I basically just took a break from training a bit. And that's why if I look at where I am today, I am actually 27% less fit than I was a couple of months ago. So that's really how you would read this chart. It's really useful for a long term. So I would recommend looking at 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, to have a general idea of where your fitness is and what you are capable of at the moment. And you can see at the bottom as well what your trends are and or what the exercises are that you've done. You can highlight those exercises as well at the bottom. So that's really how the app version works. It is pretty straightforward. There's not a lot to do with it. Now, where this tool really becomes helpful is in the web version. Now, for the web version, if you open that up and you look at the training tab at the top and you scroll down, you'll see there's fitness and freshness. Now, fitness and freshness, it's got the same information. You'll see the same graph coming up now right here with the same values over a period of time. You can set what that period of time you want that to be. I've got it here set as the last year. And here is just what I wanted to explain earlier. It uses either relative effort or power. Now, power, I think, has more to do with cycling. I'm talking specifically for running, where it uses your relative effort, and that's where that short-term exercises come in. Use relative effort to calculate what your fitness is. Now, if I select power here, there won't be any graph because I don't have any power information. But if I have relative effort, I'll get the graph again, and if I use power and relative effort, it'll be exactly the same graph. There won't be any change. Right, so that's really where that information is coming from. You can also decide what activities you want to select. So I have done some other activities besides running, so that really pushes this up. I keep it at all activities to give me a general indication of what my fitness is. Now, the great feature about the online version are these two fields here, fatigue and form. Because after a fitness exercise, obviously your fitness goes up steadily, not that fast necessarily, but you definitely get fatigued as well. So you get more fatigued as well. But the recovery period of your fatigue is faster than your fitness will go down, if that makes sense. So let me just put this graph up. If I show you my fatigue here, so the orange line is my fitness, and the gray line at the back is my fatigue. So you'll see after a big event, my fatigue will spike. If there was any big events where I really pushed my relative effort way beyond what I usually do, then you'll see a spike in my fatigue. And that then takes some time. It takes about 3 days for it to recover, to get back. Or, this was a really heavy event. It took about a week to get back to lower levels. So that's really how the fatigue works. It just gives you a number of how tired you are after a run. And where this is useful is when you want to, what people in the industry call peak, when you want to be at the perfect time, determine the perfect time to go for a marathon or to go for a race, is your form, right? So form is when your fitness is at its highest and your fatigue is at its lowest. So form really is the difference between fatigue and fitness. So in this case, the fitness is 22, my fatigue is 24. So 22 minus 24 is minus 2. Here it says minus 3. It might be just because of how the days are working out here that, my fitness is actually busy going down. So if I switch this on, you'll see it is the reverse of fatigue chart. So look at that. You can see how it actually resembles the fatigue, but in the opposite direction. So here you can actually see when it's estimated that your fatigue will be less and your form will be more. So what you want for a race is you want to plan that your form is in the positive. So at the moment I'm in a negative, which means I'm not in a good space, in a peak space to go for a race. But if I wait a while longer, you will see on the chart here that my form will go up as my fatigue goes down. But at the same time, my fitness will go down as well. So if I just hover this bar, you can see that in about a week's time, my fitness will have dropped to 19 and my fatigue to 10. So here you can just more or less start to calculate when is a good time to plan for a run. And that is why runners taper before a marathon or before a race, is because if you just do low heart rate exercises in the week or two running up to your race, then you won't get as tired. So your fatigue won't spike as much, but your fitness will remain constant. So your fitness won't drop. And that's what tapering really is to keep you from getting too tired and from losing your fitness, so that your form will be perfect on race day. So that's really how you can use this for your own exercise as well. I would really recommend just playing around with this and seeing where you were and how you felt for different races in the past. And if you have any questions on this, please post it in the comments. I'll be happy to answer that.